You're not who you say you are, babes. And in this episode, I'm going to tell you why. My name is Lucy Superfox. Welcome to the Lucy Superfox Show. This is my channel and my podcast. So without further ado, let's dive in. So I bet if I asked you, who are you? Tell me about yourself. You would tell me about the roles that you play, the titles that you have. You would tell me about achievements, accolades, successes, or you would tell me about stuff and things or where you live. What I'm interested in is what you value, what you believe in, how you show up in the world. But we live in a culture and society that tells us our worth is based on outside things. It's based on the weight on the scale. It's based on how much money's in your bank account. Whether you classify as a six-figure earner, a millionaire, whether you're on a 50% tax bracket, whether you have a senior title, whether you are married, single, with kids, divorced, whether you're a homeowner, we are so attached to status and labels, it is wild. The challenge is you've been brought up your whole life to believe that achievement, accolades, status, titles, job roles mean something about you. And that is why every single time life changes, something happens, you go through a breakup, you change job, something falls away or something falls apart, it feels like a part of you is falling apart too. And this can be hard to come back from. So when we're outsourcing our identity and who we are and our sense of self to outside things, including numbers on the scale, the amount of money we have in our bank balance, or what it is we do for work, what we're actually outsourcing is our connection to who we really are. What we're actually outsourcing is our sense of safety. What we're outsourcing is our sense of power and our ability to move forward and do new things because we believe we're who we used to be, rather than belief in our potential and what we could be. When we're attached to outside labels and numbers and metrics and things, we deny our intuition. We deny our ability to ebb and flow and change. We're so attached to how things have been and how things are that we couldn't possibly make space to create new. And this is why people end up repeating the same life on repeat. They go round and round, no matter how much they try to change their thoughts, no matter how much action they try to take, they end up back in the same fucking place. And that's because when we outsource our sense of safety, our sense of identity, our sense of worth, our sense of emotional stability, based on how things are on the outside, how our business looks, how our career looks, how our relationship looks, how things are with a friend or a family member, or how many followers we've got on social media, when our worth, better decoded as our emotional safety, is based on those outside things, we will never feel a sense of grounded safety in here. And when we can't feel a sense of grounded safety in here, we're outsourcing our authority, our agency, our audacity, and ultimately our ability to create change. So when you find yourself, you're sat there right now thinking, holy shit, Luce, I do this for everything. You know, when my social media is flying, I feel great and confident about myself. When I'm thin and I can see my abs, oh my God, I'm absolutely smashing it. Or when my business is going well, then I'm on fire. If your sense of self, sense of purpose, sense of direction, sense of worth is conditional based on outside results, what you're going to find is you're going to find that one tiny thing that happens is going to really damage and wobble that sense of self and sense of purpose. And when that happens, it can often lead to things like breakdown, to burnout, to disconnection, and ultimately spending a long season of life feeling lost until we find that next thing to grab onto, until we find that next person, right? That next business, that next idea, we make that next amount of money. But the answer to creating a life where you can attract what you want, bring in what you desire, actually make changes because they feel good to you, is a life where you're not outsourcing your sense of self and your sense of safety to anything outside of you. And instead, you're creating that as an internal state. So many people don't realize that it's not about the action that you take. We live in a world that says, work hard, do good things, perform, get good grades, get a job. And we actually end up following them. We think that we're either right or wrong, good or bad, all or nothing. And then when things aren't working out for us, we think that we're bad or we're wrong. And we're constantly looking at our life, trying to be better, striving, always moving on to the next thing. But without actually ever really looking at the fact that every single time we do that, every single time we try for the next goal or reach for the next accolade or push a little bit harder, that what we're doing is actually moving ourselves further away from an aligned life, further away from a life that feels good inside, further away from a sense of self that feels unconditionally worthy and unconditionally loved. So many of us want unconditional worth, unconditional safety, unconditional peace, unconditional wealth. We want to feel good no matter what is going on, but we cannot do that while we outsource our worth, our authority, our agency, and our safety to outside things. We just cannot. It's impossible. So instead, the answer isn't to find the next goal, chase the next thing, or to pivot. And I talk a lot about addiction on this podcast, and we're all really familiar with the concept of addiction switching, right? You'll addiction switch to coke. So you'll go from emotional eating to drinking, or someone will go from chronic binge eating to over-exercising. We're all very aware of the concept of addiction switching. You can attachment switch too. Attachment switching is going from holding your worth in how you look in your body to holding your worth in your business, to holding your worth in your bank balance, to holding your worth in how someone else sees you and behaves around you, to holding your worth in social media. It's not about social media. It's not about the person. It's not about the money. It's not about the business. It's never about that thing itself. And it's always about our relationship to it. It's about our attachment to it. So whilst your attachment, and what I mean by that is your sense of safety, your sense of self, your sense of worth, your sense of predictability and certainty and guarantees are based on the business, the bank balance, the body, the relationship with that person, with social media, what you're doing is putting yourself in a house of cards. Because one thing happens, somebody pulls away, you have an unexpected bill, you end up in a situation where the business model you're in changes or the trends change and people no longer want what you offer. You find yourself in a situation where the friends that you used to be friends with, change, they go in new directions, they leave, and you find yourself feeling lost, feeling disconnected, feeling uncertain about what's next and where to go and who you are. And we end up finding ourselves burnt out, lost, disconnected, and misaligned. But when you build a sense of safety, of authority, of agency inside of yourself, that's when you can be big, bold, and audacious. That's when you make massive radical change in life. Not when someone else says you can, not when it feels like the right thing to do, not when someone else validates that, but when you decide, when your sense of safety, worth, authority, and sense of who you really are isn't based on stuff happening outside of you, that's when the game changes. So what's happening when we're doing this, and just going to break this down in 3 different ways for you. When you are looking outside of yourself for validation, approval, or to feel safe in the numbers on the scale, the numbers in your bank balance, the performance of your social media, how your business is going, or how other people see you, including the people close to you, what's happening is that's your nervous system seeking outside of you for regulation. That's thus your soul or the deep part of you looking for connection. And ultimately, that is you as a full self, as a younger self, as an inner child, if that's a word that vibes for you, looking for connection, looking for attachment, looking to feel safe. So when we outsource our authority, our worth, and our safety, that's both an attachment issue, a connection issue, and a safety issue. And attachment, connection, and safety all mean the same thing. They mean a sense of who we are, a sense of identity. So when you're looking for connection, attachment, or safety outside of yourself, it's always going to be unconditional. And it means you're going to perform and please and prove and try harder and work more and pivot and reach, and you're going to feel a chronic sense of anxiety. One thing goes and you feel like you're spiraling. One thing changes and you feel like you're out of control. And that's simply because your worth has been outsourced to these things. I'll be honest, I had to repeat this pattern with multiple things before I could fully address it. I had to address it with my body and how I looked. I had to address it with my relationship with multiple businesses. I had to address it with my bank balance. I even had to address it with my current husband and where I was attaching my worth, my sense of self, and my validation outside of myself. Because until I was able to really, and I mean really, stop regulating myself, my mood, my energy, my willingness to do things, my desire, until I was willing to stop, and there's a difference, to be clear, between hyper-independence and avoidance and being like, no, I don't care about those things, I don't need those things, versus being self-regulated, that I don't need those things to validate me. Those things are just feedback of how my social media is going or how happy I am in my marriage. They don't define me. They don't determine my sense of safety, my emotional well-being. There's a big difference. But until I was really able to do that and bring that sense of self in here, like deeply in here, and actually know that the only way I'll ever feel emotionally safe, emotionally well, emotionally regulated is how I make myself regulate, is my connection to myself, is my attachment to myself, right? And who I decide I am and how I show up through doing the deep nervous system regulation work, through healing trauma, through rebuilding and redefining my identity, not just through stories and on paper, but actually through knowing myself at a deep level, through building my relationship with my higher self and my intuition through the deep work. That is when the game changes. Because when you no longer need these things to validate and you can release your attachment, you stop seeking connection, you stop finding safety outside of yourself, and you find it in here, that is when the magic happens. Because from this place, this is when you become embodied. This is where those wanky words like embodiment and alignment really show up. Because when the way that you think and the way that you truly feel at a nervous system state shows up together and then you take action, that's when the manifestations fucking happen. But when you are outsourcing your sense of safety and worth, and your state is dependent by how successful you are, how your business is performing, how much money's in the bank, whether someone loves you, you're only one slip away from a total collapse. You're only one step away from a breakdown. Because if your sense of who you are is conditioned or controlled by outside things, you don't really have the autonomy and the authority to be big, bold, and audacious, to manifest wild desires, because you don't have the capacity to handle what happens. But when your sense of self, in sense of safety, and sense of worth is in here, right? I'm pointing at my stomach if you're listening, is in here, it's in who you are as a person. And you no longer need these things, right? Not because you're pushing against them and saying you don't need them and pretending, but because you genuinely know that no matter what, you can handle it, you can be okay. That's when you have the energetic capacity and room to be able to handle fucking anything. Because with the smooth comes the rough, with the highs comes the lows, right? That is the beautiful paradox of life. It's not always about being perfect. Absolutely, we can manifest a wonderful life, but we can't do that when our nervous system state is stuck in the past or it's needing results to feel good. This is why we feel so hard to trust the process, right? In manifestation, it's impossible to trust the process and let go if we're attached to controlling everything, controlling our food, controlling our money, controlling how things come in, controlling our business, controlling other people. There's no freedom in that. When you feel safe, like when someone says to me, I'm a control freak, I'm a recovered control freak, right? If someone says to me, I'm a control freak, I'm like, honey, that's not a good thing, right? Because when you feel the need to control something, you're outsourcing your safety. You're giving your safety over to something else. You're giving your safety over to a different person or a result, right? And when life doesn't go the way we want, that means we're one tiny step away from feeling like our life is falling apart, when simply actually something that wasn't meant for us fell away. But when we build our sense of safety and our identity from in here, from within, right? By doing nervous system regulation work, by doing the trauma healing work, by rewriting and rebuilding your identity, just like the work inside I do in the course Becoming that I made for this exact reason, right? When you're redefining your identity, when reinvention is required, when you're done outsourcing your worth, when you're done outsourcing your power, when you're done outsourcing your sense of safety, and you're ready to build that divine connection with your intuition, to feel like you, right? To feel like you and move with that aligned, embodied, magnetic energy. That is what I made Becoming for. I made Becoming for this exact freaking moment, because it happens to everyone. There is a point in your entrepreneurial or corporate journey as a woman where you will go, fuck this shit. Where you will look at the fact that you are outsourced your worth again to a person, to a place, to a thing, to a bank balance, to a result, to a title, to an achievement, and you will be exhausted. You will have a moment where you think, fuck, I can't do this anymore. And at that moment, and this is the exact moment, you will realize the only way you're ever going to feel worthy and truly create a life that brings you joy and happiness and peace, and you can manifest your magnetic desires from ease and relaxation and genuine joy, is when you stop outsourcing your happiness, your sense of safety, and your sense of peace to something out there, whether it's a number on the scale, the number of calories you eat, the number in your bank, or how your business is going for you. Because when you stop measuring your worth on those outside things, that's when the game fucking changes. And that is exactly what I made the Becoming program for. So your identity isn't what you say you are. It's three things combined. It's the story that you tell, both in your mind and in your body. It's the state your nervous system holds when things happen, when things go well, when they don't go well, when someone rejects you, when life gets hard, what's happening in your body. And it's the strategy or the action that you take. Most people are trying to change at the level of action. They're trying to do something different, discipline and willpower themselves to the next step, to change it, to reach for the next goal, the next accolade. I'll be happy when I get there. I'll feel better when I reach this next point. I'll rest when I reach the next level goal, right? They're trying to change at the level of the strategy. Or they're trying to change using just affirmations and, I just affirm it. I just affirm the next level. But whilst what's happening underneath is the nervous system and the body is saying, oh my God, I'm terrified. Oh my God, where am I safety? Oh my God, where's my connection? Oh my God, where's my attachment? I have no idea who I am, right? It's that deep nervous system conditioning from when we're young that tells us where safety is. And if you're still telling it, no matter what your words say, no matter what your actions say, that safety is outside of you, nothing will change long term, and you'll end up right back in the same spot. And this is what I made the Becoming program for. When you're actually ready to change the state, the story, and the strategy by doing the deep inner work to become that next version of you. The version of you that doesn't outsource her authority, she doesn't outsource her audacity, she doesn't outsource her power, she doesn't feel the need to earn her worth, because she steps and moves with an energy of certainty, of freedom, not control, a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, and a sense of inner knowing that she is enough no matter what, that she is worthy no matter what, that she is good enough no matter what. And from that embodied energy, then she is aligned. And from that alignment, she moves with an energy that becomes magnetic to her desires. And that is the magic of the Becoming program. So if you want to find out more about the Becoming program, you can go to lucysuperfox.com/becoming. And otherwise, I hope you love this episode. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.